Hi, welcome to episode 7 of the Weekly Wave. I'm Matthew Lyons.
And I'm Aaron Johnson.
And our guest here today is guidance counselor, Miss Christina Sweeney. How are you, Miss Sweeney?
Doing well, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming.
I think I'm going no glasses today, you know.
Yeah, I noticed that. That's, are you going to be able to read?
I can read, yeah.
Okay, all right.
It's like far distances. So
Okay.
it's not good. But anyway, we brought you here today to talk about colleges for seniors because it's now March, and the seniors are deciding all of their colleges and decisions and where to go, and they usually go to the guidance counselors.
Yes.
So it's a very interesting topic for us, at least hopefully it is for you guys. But we just wanted to know.
Yeah.
So what's the most frequently picked colleges by students?
Here at Abington, we typically have two of the main ones would be Bridgewater State and University of Massachusetts Amherst. I think this year we had 32 seniors apply to Bridgewater, and I think that's because of the location.
Yeah.
Right.
It's so close to home. It's a state school, so it makes it an affordable option for students, and it has a variety of majors.
And dorms are so expensive.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking at colleges now, and then like room and board goes from like $1,200
ridiculous.
to like $2,000.
The cost of school is just something that, you and your family, it's a huge undertaking. So it's good to have a variety of options in terms of whether it be, safeties academically or safeties financially as well. You need to have that mix in your list. So
A recent study shows that, yeah, I know.
stats.
It's going to be serious whenever I start off with that the number of students who go to college straight from high school has increased by 7% in the last 18 years. What do you think is making people go to college?
I don't know the absolute number one reason, but I would imagine that a big factor in that is that the more education a person attains after high school, the more money they will make over time. So I think that's a huge drive for people to go to college. Obviously, that's not a blanket statement. People who don't go to college can also make a lot of money. However, statistically speaking, it is known that if you do go to college and beyond, your however much money you'll make over time is greater than not going to school.
This year, these seniors had like a lot of talent. I think Allison McLeod, she's in like the top 1% for SAT scores in the entire nation. Now, I was wondering if there's any prestigious schools like Ivy Leagues or sub-Ivy Leagues or whatever that the kids are going to, because that really interests me. I want to see if anyone from Abington's going to like these really like prestigious schools.
So in terms of prestigious schools, just a side note before we talk about where students apply and who got in, and I think it's hard to determine what a prestigious school is. Like the prestige of a school does not kind of define the success of who you're going to be out of school. So I just want to make that point. With that said, a lot of our students do apply to Ivy schools, and a lot of them do get in. I know the past couple years we've had students go to Harvard. That's one of the most popular
my
Ivy
sister's
Leagues.
good friend went to Harvard. Tyler Moulton.
Yep. So I remember Tyler was my student. He was there. We had another student, Cassie Miranda was also, she's also going to Harvard. So we have, I feel like that's the most popular Ivy League school, but we've had students apply to Yale, students apply to Duke, Bowdoin. So we have a lot of prestigious schools that they apply to. They are really competitive. So even sometimes if you are in the top of your class, you may not get into those schools because you're competing against number ones in the class across the world, not even just Massachusetts, not the country. And we live in an area where we're fortunate to be surrounded by so many great colleges. So it's super competitive.
Yeah.
But, we do have students that do get in, they apply, they get in, and they go. So
I think Massachusetts has some of like the best schools.
Yeah.
Like you have MIT, Harvard, Northeastern.
Right.
WPI, there we go.
Yeah. Whenever someone thinks of like a prestigious school, I can't speak for everybody, but I think of Harvard. Like, oh, I'm going to Harvard one day.
Yeah. I feel like that's kind of like the most known, the most popular. Like it's in movies, and it's just kind of in the culture.
Yeah, it's like a legend.
Yeah.
The water went down the wrong pipe.
Now, I just asked you that, why do you think more students are applying to college? However, there's another study, another statistic that says that 44% of students leave before finishing college. And that is in the past, I believe, 2 years. So what do you think is causing so many dropouts?
I think there's a number of reasons. sometimes students don't do enough research ahead of time before they decide and go to college, and then they are there and they realize, wow, this really isn't a great fit for me. So it's so important, and we try to stress this all the time, that you need to start doing your research early, visit the school, get some information before you make it. It's a really big decision, and it's an expensive decision.
Yeah, it's not one you should put off.
Right.
Right.
So it's important to get that research in. I feel like the more research students do, the more successful they are. Other issues, I mean, life gets in the way sometimes, and sometimes, unfortunately, it's either financially they can't handle it, or for whatever reason, something happened in their life that college isn't working in their cards right now. So I think like those are two kind of big reasons. Other things, they may just change their mind. Maybe they thought they wanted to do nursing or teaching, and then they decided, you know what, that really isn't for me. I want to do something more along the trades, and then they switched to a trade school or a union.
Yeah, unions are awesome. They have so many benefits.
They do, and I feel like, you know, college isn't set in stone, and
Right.
you know, it's your life, and you're going to be living it. And if you need to change your mind, if you want to change your mind, if it just happens, you gotta go with it. That's life, and you move with whatever is going on within your life, and that may be to change a career, a major, a school. So those things happen all the time.
Life's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
So as a guidance counselor, your job is basically to guide kids on life-changing decisions. What do you feel are some of the most important aspects of picking a good college that well suits that person?
I think it all starts with the research again. This process is so individualized. So what we stress is, don't just apply to schools that your friends are applying to, or that you heard that your sibling loved it and that you should go there. It's so individualized. You need to do your research. You need to see, you know, is it a good fit for me academically? Do I line up with that school's average acceptance stats, whether it be GPA, SAT? Does that school have majors that I'm interested in and studying? I think location is huge. Do you want to be a plane ride away or a car ride away? Those are two big things. They're huge in terms of, you know, making those decisions. Cost is another thing. So there's so many criteria that goes into like finding the right fit. The most important thing is research and actually going to the school, visiting, asking questions, and getting that information, because then you'll know if it's a good fit for you or not.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who've actually like gotten homesick, like went to college out in California and actually came back just to do like a community college or like go to Bridgewater.
It's a big jump, especially like living in a town for a long time.
Right.
And such a
and
small
moving
one
to the
too.
other side. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes students do great and when they go far, and sometimes it's just not for them, and that's okay. You can always transfer if you decide on a school and it just wasn't in the cards at that place. You can always find out. There's so many different schools.
So technology and social media has been a big theme in, I want to say, almost all of our episodes. Do you think technology and social media has anything to do with the increase of students going to college and the increase of students dropping out of college?
So it's a interesting question. I feel like social media in general just opens up the opportunity to give students information that they may not have known prior. So maybe a different school that they've never heard of, they'll see, you know, something on social media, and then they'll do some more research to find out more information. The other side of it is social media can kind of be detrimental to student acceptance. We've seen kind of a trend in, you know, college admissions personnel looking at social media accounts of students when going through the application process. And if you post something that probably shouldn't be posted, then they can take that into consideration when deciding if they think that you would be a good fit for their school. So I always caution students that they need to be careful of what they post on social media. And it can happen for college. It can happen even for jobs. So it's just kind of something that this generation needs to be mindful of, because social media can really do some damage if you're not using it appropriately.
Also, it's kind of ironic that we had you on today to talk about colleges, and you just mentioned the application process. Because I believe last night, the FBI arrested, I want to say, 33 to 40 people for bribing colleges to accepting their students. Could you elaborate on that at all?
It's a huge scandal, and I don't have all the facts or the information on it. All I do know is that some people have paid this person in particular to help their chances into getting into some of the, prestigious schools. And I think this story is going to be developing. I think it's going to be a really big story to track because it's just in terms of the fairness of it.
It's absolutely awful.
Yeah, it is terrible. So it'll be interesting to see what colleges actually are involved and how that's going to affect admission standards going forward.
Yeah, a lot of our lives, even like our lives, are built up, like even school. We're trying to get those good GPAs and like good grades to get into this good college. And the fact that people are rigging the system and taking away that people who deserve it, their spots, it's just terrible.
It's unfair.
Right. Yeah.
People when they get rejected, like, oh, I wasn't good enough. And that's not the case at all.
Yeah.
The fact that someone got in because they had more money than you, that's terrible.
Yeah. Just a crooked system. Hopefully those colleges get what they deserve. Or not the colleges, but the admissions
people
officer.
involved,
Yeah.
yes. Well, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, that was
Thank
awesome.
you for having me, guys.
Hi, and welcome back to a segment I like to call AJ's A-List. This week, it's going to be about the boys' basketball game. Now, I'm doing kind of like a school spotlight this time because it was an unbelievable game. I didn't see it. I heard about it. I saw clips from it. We had work, Matt and I. But it was awesome. The Abington boys won the MIAA D4 state semifinals over reigning state champs Pope John, 72-71, a nail-biter. Abington was actually down 11 points. There we go.
Yeah.
And with like a minute and 30 left in the game. It seemed to be hopeless. But then, by some miracle, Abington brought it back with Bryson Andrew, Matt McGuire, and Will Klein hitting the three-pointers. Well, they all hit three-pointers, but Will Klein especially hitting a three-pointer with 1.5 seconds left to win the game.
That is crazy.
That's like an NBA finish. Like
Yeah.
you don't hear about that. And now Abington boys are heading to the state finals. Go Abington.
Now it's time for the weekend box office. I'm Matthew Lyons. Number one was Captain Marvel, which grossed $150 million despite mediocre reviews. Next was How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, which grossed $14 million. Did you see that, Aaron?
No, but I feel like they milk those movies. Like I feel
What,
like
DreamWorks?
yeah, I feel like they milk all their movies. Like after the second one, I feel like that's fine. You don't need to make like 6 sequels to it.
I mean, Captain Marvel, that's like number... that's like number 21 in like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And that's working out for them, so...
Yeah, well, it's like a different title though. It's not necessarily a sequel.
How to Train Your Dragon 47, The Final Straw.
The Awakening.
Number 3 was Tyler Perry's A Medea Family Funeral, which grossed $12 million. Next was the Lego Movie 2, Part 2, which grossed $4 million.
Wait, so it was Lego Movie 2, Part 2.
Yeah, I believe that was the title.
Yeah, it's a gross title.
It's meta. It's, they're making fun of themselves. So, finally was Alita: Battle Angel, which grossed $3 million. And now it's time for Movie Time with Matt. This week's movie recommendation came out in 2017, I believe.
Yes.
Which is not that long ago. It is called Get Out. It is directed by Jordan Peele in its directorial debut, and it stars Daniel Kaluuya.
If you haven't heard it, you've basically been living under a rock.
Yeah, in 2017, it won an Oscar, I believe.
Massive blockbuster.
It did, yes, for Best Original Screenplay by Jordan Peele. And as a fan of Key and Peele, I was very surprised that he could write horror like that. And it is horror, but not really. It's more of a psychological thriller.
You really expect people like that to play to their strengths.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jordan Peele, I believe, right?
Yes.
He's a comedic writer.
Yes,
along
he
with
is.
Keegan-Michael Key. And
Keegan
for him, for him to step out of his comfort
Yes.
zone like that was awesome. And
Yeah.
to make such a great product was even better.
He said in an interview one time that he was always writing like horror and sci-fi movies, but he never published them or wanted to. And then finally, after Key and Peele, he just decided, I'm going to make a horror movie. And it was a great decision because it was a good movie and it made a lot of money. I believe it was one of the highest grossing movies of that year. And if you haven't seen it, it's a very interesting movie. When I first saw it, I thought it was good, but the more I thought about it, it wouldn't leave my head, and it just kept me thinking. And it has a lot to say about America today and race in America. And it is a very timely movie, and if you haven't seen it, you definitely should check it out. Thanks for watching. Tune in next week to see an all-new episode of The Weekly Wave with drama director Steve Shannon.
And make sure to follow us on our Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at the Green Wave Gazette.
Thanks for watching.
Goodbye.